Hello and welcome to the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, officially known as your mayor of PHNX. And I, of course, am joined by my vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman.
After you got rid of the mustache, Derek, I was prepared to be like happy about it. Like, yes, this is like, I would rather look at this face than the face before it. But
You weren't
I
ready
don't
for
know.
it.
I don't know how to feel today,
No.
Derek. I don't know who I'm looking at. I think
It's not a good
be a
look.
different person than you
It's
were
not
yesterday.
a good look. And let's be honest, I knew better than to, basically shave it off. But it had to go. The mustache was bad. I was spending a lot of time in the hot tub. Inexplicably, Jesse, I was just I'd take a nap on the couch, wake up in the hot tub. I'd blame it all on the mustache. But this show, of course, is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use our code of PHNX, and simply for betting $1 on any team to score, you'll get $100 in free bets instantly should the team do the thing that you bet on them to do, which is score in any way, shape, or form. Jesse, it's official. It's everything else is over. There's no more tank season. There's no more free agency season. It's lockout season now, Jesse. It's lockout season. Grab your pillows, grab your nighties, grab your pajamas and take a nap for the time being. No work is getting done, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the foreseeable future. So let's talk about this. First of all, the start of the lockout and how long we think these negotiations are actually going to go for.
Well, first of all, I have to say that last night was kind of hilarious when all of this went down because have you been on MLB.com lately?
Oh, yeah.
Have you been on dbacks.com lately or any Major League Baseball team's website?
Yeah.
There is no current news about any players. Everything about current players, like all of the recent free agent signings, the trades, all of that has been removed. Even their pictures, Derek, are no longer there, and players are getting a kick out of this today. There's an entire movement of players on social media changing their avatars to just like this blank face that Major League Baseball is using for them now on their website. I don't know exactly the circumstances here, if Major League Baseball isn't legally allowed to use their picture or whatnot during this time, or they're just making a statement. I don't know. Maybe you know something I don't hear.
I don't either. No, the only thing I can think is that when you see a lot of the fine print in things like baseball cards or in, for instance, MLB The Show, there are lines about the likenesses and such being owned by the Players Association, right? So I think because that website isn't owned by the teams, it's not owned by the Players Association, it's owned by MLB, and all the websites related for the teams are owned by MLB. So it might just be a precautionary measure. It might be them going too far, or it might be this modern day, kind of thing, right? Like you can't use a song in the background of a birthday party video without Facebook sending you a warning that you don't own the music in the background music, right? So, I mean, we're getting to this point where media is strictly controlled by those who own it, and that, I imagine, carries over to the players' likenesses, right? They can still have the information about them on there, but it's kind of like the restrictions that websites that aren't associated with MLB are held to without, you can't use their logo in your advertising and can't do certain things because you don't own that and you don't have permission from either the MLB or from the Players Association to do so.
I just think it's funny that the Diamondbacks signed Mark freaking Melancon yesterday, and you go on their website and there's nothing there. You will find nothing about Mark Melancon on their website right now. And on MLB.com, like MLB.com is just this hilarious collage of articles about like the best player in the 60s, just like all of these super random things. That's all that they have to talk about, and that's all they're gonna have to talk about for a pretty long time, because as you said, Derek, we might be stuck here for a while.
And I mean, I know it just started, Jesse. I know it just started, but I wanted to give our predictions on when we think it might end.
Yes. The most
Interestingly enough.
arbitrary and impossible game ever. Let's do
Yeah.
it, Eric.
Yeah. It
I'm
makes
so
no
down.
sense at all. That's no sense at all. Jesse, I will give you the floor for you to make your case for your date and what your date is.
All right. Well, I think it's obvious, Derek. I think everyone knows this,
Everybody
right? This
understands
is
what
super clear. January 28th. Mark it down on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen.
it's
January
it's gonna happen.
28th. I'm sure of it. That January 28th will be the day that this all ends. I don't really know, Derek, but my case is just that I think that gives them a decent buffer before pitchers and catchers report. And I really do think that both sides are heavily motivated to get this done. Nobody wants to see us miss out on regular season games. Nobody wants us to miss out on any spring training games or any part of that experience. I know, like you said yesterday, that would be a big hit to the local economy, which is
they're already up in arms about it, Jesse. The local news is furious. They're furious. They want you to know that this lockout is going to affect the Arizona economy. And they're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
I've always referred to spring training as the trap. It's the trap because people come here to see spring training and they somehow get the impression that the weather is like that all season long or all year long, or like the summer, like we're already in summer. This is how hot it gets. This is nice. Yeah, it's nice in March and part of April, and then that's it. Then you're in the hell times. But by that point, some people have made the errant decision to come live here from wherever their nice climate possibly was. So I don't know. It's definitely, I think, the attraction time of the year. It's the best time to at least bring people out and have so much to do. I know there's a lot to do in the Valley besides spring training at that point too. There's usually a whole lot of events and such, but I don't know. I get what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. January 28th sounds like a good date. It's still a little far away, but if they got it done by that day, there wouldn't be any drama. There wouldn't be any panic, Jesse.
That's
so there's
true.
no way.
That's a pretty optimistic day.
There's no way they get it done that early. There can't be that lack of drama. There can't be that lack of nail biting. So I am going with February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Day. Wow.
Here's the thing. It's Valentine's Day. So of course, because we all need to love each other. So maybe that'll be the day that they learn to get past their differences and just get this deal done. More importantly, pitchers and catchers would report either that Wednesday or the following Wednesday. And I know that they don't want to impact spring training, but I think that is going to be the 11th hour for them. I think that is going to be when they truly will need pressure-wise to get the deal done, because that is the point when no matter how you want to cut it, the 2022 season is now being impacted. Once we get past that midweek of February or the next week of the 21st through the 25th, we're going to be into a period of time where everything's going to have to be pushed back, condensed. They're going to lose games in spring training. They're going to lose time for these guys to get ready. Baseball is a fickle sport. You can't just all of a sudden pick up and say, all right, the season starts next week now. It's not, it doesn't work out that way. The minute that they start to, allow teams to get back to getting together, it's going to take a while for things to get ramped up. So I'm hoping that they feel the pressure by that point and get it done so that it doesn't impact this season at all in any way, shape, or form. If not, I will come back and blame Jesse 100% for getting my hopes up so high and telling me how the season wasn't going to be impacted by the lockout.
So that would be about 10 weeks from now is what you're saying. Oh gosh. That's a long time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'll tell you this much. You'll have a lot of time to go on the DraftKings Sportsbook app and familiarize yourself with it before baseball season starts.
That's very true.
You get some bets going on. Do what you can to use your free bets. Use our code of PHNX. Bet $1 on any NFL game this weekend, and if any team scores, you'll score. You'll get that $100 in free bets. Then, like I said, you turn it around. You bet that on some same game parlays. You avoid scores and who's going to win, all that. Just go and do what I do. Doubt people. You take the under on their yards, take their under on their touchdowns, see what you can come together and give yourself a nice little parlay. Then you take that money and you go do your holiday shopping. Have yourself a very happy holiday season. But remember, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. I was Mr. Parlay, but our buddy Patrick Lyons came on the show and he had to call himself Big Papa Parlay. It's been weeks and it's been living in my head rent free. So I can't even call myself Mr. Parlay because it's such a subpar nickname compared to Big Papa Parlay that I've just been wrestling with it this entire time. But you can call yourself whatever you want on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use our code once again of PHNX, and you will get that $100 in free bets instantly by using $1 to bet on any team to score, should that team score. 21 and over only, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Dial 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. I'm upset though, Jesse.
Yeah.
The free agency season has come and gone.
It was fun while it lasted, though.
It was. I'm not mad about what the Diamondbacks did. I tried to look on the positive side. I was very positive about it.
You were very positive. You kept saying yesterday that you're like, yeah, I'm glad they stuck to their plan and didn't do anything. And then
Derek,
they surprised
Derek
us
from yesterday is an idiot. He's an idiot.
All right.
He's a positive dummy, and I don't know what's wrong with that guy. But let me tell you this. When I really sat down and took in that the New York Mets essentially put together yours and mine, essentially dream team of free agents.
Pretty much.
You know, they got Scherzer, they got Eduardo Escobar, they got Starling Marte, they got Mark Canha, and they also might have my allegiance. I don't know. I don't ever want to root for a New York team, but as far as I'm concerned, it's like they created my team on their team.
Well, you see, the Mets, they're not like, I don't really view the Mets as a New York team, even though they are a New York team, because they're just kind of a different breed. Like, have you ever met a Mets fan, Derek?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I actually have a Mets fan friend. My friend D Hat. Yes.
Okay.
One though, not many. So I don't get what you're saying.
I was on, so this was several years ago. I got invited onto a Mets podcast once. I still am not really sure why this happened, but there was some guy who hosted a Mets podcast, and he was like, "Hey,
are you not sure why you got invited or why a Mets podcast existed?" Because I mean,
that's fair. That's fair.
People
Yeah,
could be questioning us.
Really,
too,
really.
Let's not pull threads. Let's not pull threads. Okay.
Right. But yeah, it was just like this guy was just. I don't know. Mets fans just have such a sad, like, they kind of have a sarcastic like way about them, where like the kind of this like woe is me. Just,
I have
like,
no idea what you're talking about in comparison to D-backs fans at all, Jesse. We didn't just tweet out an announcement about them getting a closer and have 50 people reply with, "Why would you need a closer when you're never going to be in a close situation?"
We did get a lot of those.
We get it. They don't score a lot of runs. So we understand where you're coming from. We covered that on the show too. But, one, be more original. And two, do we have to do this already? Do we have to already, like when they do acquire someone, pick on the fact that they acquired someone? I mean, you could have done that with anybody that they picked up, to be honest, unless they went out and did what the Rangers did. Which even then, I'm sure there would be a half a dozen. Even
then, Derek, people would be like, "Why you need a middle infield when your bullpen sucks, right?" Like, no, like,
why are you spending over $500 million when you have 6,000 people in your stadium? Yeah, all those jokes. We got it. I know.
Oh, yes.
But it's probably the one team that makes me sad. It's probably the one team I'm a little envious of, mostly because it's guys that I am very familiar with. And I like very much, and I think are going to do big things. All of those guys, former D-backs, with the exception of Canha, and that's somebody that you were very high on as far as an option potentially for the D-backs to be looking at.
They're all great players. I mean, honestly, I'm excited for Mets fans. They need this. I mean, it's been a long time since the Mets have really been able to do much that was notable, right? I mean, they've been in the playoffs somewhat recently, but Yeah, but they need this, and I'm just excited to see Max Scherzer pitch for the Mets. I mean, after pitching for the Dodgers, like seeing him come over and be himself on a team like that really needs him. Whereas when he was on the Dodgers, it's like, the Dodgers are just an unbelievable team with or without him.
It's like a ship full of captains. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
a ship full of guys with playoff experience, and especially someone like Scherzer, who actually has more experience than most of the guys on the team, or all of the guys, in fact, still coming over on a team like that that's so well established. So many of them have been on that team for a while. It's got to be a weird feeling, like you said. There's going to be a different feeling for him to come over to the Mets. The Mets are going to look at him as a leader. I think the starting rotation is going to be thrilled to be a part of a rotation that includes him, and they're going to utilize him for his experience and other things. I'm big on that because I know how big these things can be for young guys. Zach Gallen talked about changing the side of the plate that he pitched from, making just this huge improvement in his game. You never know when one single piece of advice from a veteran or a coach is going to improve your game substantially like that. But yeah, no, I'm jealous, and that's really all I wanted to cover involving the Mets is just talk about how jealous and
Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer.
My God. And then Taijuan Walker, former D-back Taijuan Walker over there. I mean, I think he came back down to earth, but he was an all-star and he had a great, first half. So I think that they have a lot of positive things going, and be interesting to see what they can do. That division at times is wide open, but also has the World Series champions in it. So, World Series champions that might be decimated by free agency whenever free agency starts again, because a lot of people are licking their chops about Freddie Freeman, and it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. But one other thing I wanted to get to, I know we're on the lockout season. Can we put lockout season back up there, please? Because it's a great graphic, and we need to every time we switch over to lockout season. So now we're talking that some of the proposals that we'll have during this whole negotiation, some of the things we've heard about. The first one actually could impact the D-backs substantially. And that is the fact that there's a proposal in the CBA that the MLB has offered to the Players Association to change their draft with an NBA-style lottery system for just the first 3 draft picks, right? Thus preventing tank season a little bit, which makes me sad. I still like tank season, but you're going to get into tank season regardless. It's 162 games. Well, let's throw it up there one time just for old time's sake. It's tank season. I love tank season. So preventing that, we'll put a big X over that one of these days or whatever, right? But basically, the top 3 teams would be entered into a lottery system, and if that comes through, from my understanding, that could impact next year's draft. They could still have that lottery for the 2022 draft, which could result in the D-backs either moving back one draft position, which would be a total D-backs thing to have happen, or it could result in them getting the number 1 draft pick.
Wouldn't it be funny if they got Elijah Green after
that's all I want. That's all I want to happen. I don't care if they get 3, 2, or 1. Just get Elijah Green is all I really want. But it's interesting because I think that there are a lot of things that they've put into this potential CBA that is going to improve competitive balance, is going to make baseball better, right? I know we talk a lot about this being about money and sides looking greedy, but I really feel like this season was the best example of why competitive balance is important. So many of the teams that didn't really end up being competitive were out of it from March, from April. They didn't even try to make any moves. The Cubs waved the white flag and not the one with the W on it a long time ago, and it's situations like that. It's understandable. Again, what the Diamondbacks have gone through in this division is understandable. Now with the Dodgers potentially not falling apart, but the Dodgers maybe coming back down a little bit and not being able to afford all of these great players that they had, and maybe the competition level being a little bit closer, maybe next year, not this year, but maybe the following year, is that perfect time to strike for the D-backs, where their young talent has had some time in the majors, and some guys have emerged as top talent, and they can add some free agents next year. Right now, what I'm hearing from a lot of D-backs fans is still that lament that the D-backs aren't spending a whole bunch of money this offseason. I can understand it, because what you're looking at right now, competitive balance wise, is a bunch of teams spending a bunch of money, a bunch of the less competitive teams that were out of it last season from the beginning, right? And I mean, in some cases, some of them have made it very clear that they want to spend money, but they haven't been able to get those big players, right? So like a team like the Tigers most definitely are in the hunt for Carlos Correa, because they've struck out on a couple of their big free agent names they were going after. So I could see them having a lot of money to throw his way, right? But teams like the Rangers and the Tigers and the Marlins are all teams now that are trying to, bump up that competitive level. And, again, it's a transition period. So it's cool to see that. It's not the right time for the D-backs right now. I don't feel like.
It's interesting what this will do. I don't personally think that Major League Baseball has as big of an issue with tanking as some other sports do, particularly NBA, where I think it's abundantly clear. I mean, the Suns were clearly tanking for several years there. I mean, just holding out players from playing and whatnot for no real apparent reason for a while there. So I don't think Major League Baseball has as big of an issue with that.
Because it's harder to actually tank.
Yeah, it's harder to tank, and it also doesn't, the reward is less significant, right? Like Mike Hazen said himself, we've talked about it a million times. The Diamondbacks didn't even want the number 1 overall pick, right? So I don't think they would view this as a very different situation, and I highly doubt it would really impact the way that teams perform down the stretch. I don't see a lot of Major League Baseball teams holding out their best players toward the end of the season so that they can lose more games. The Orioles played Cedric Mullins at the end of last year through the entire season, who's an incredible player, and they weren't going to hold him out because they were trying to tank, right? That wasn't what they did. Now, granted, the Orioles didn't spend much money, and there are other things on that roster you could point. Maybe they were tanking in the larger picture, but I don't see this having the kind of impact that would really change how teams create their rosters and how they use them down the stretch.
Well, I'll remind you, and I'm not accusing the D-backs of tanking a single game, but I will remind you that in the final game of the year, when they were almost the worst team in baseball, Lovello did sit Ketel Marte for rest.
I still think that's a Lovello quirk. I still think that sounds like a Torey Lovello.
You say whatever you want to say, Jesse. You say whatever you want to say. I will say it's the last game of the season, and he wasn't trying to tank. Wink. So anyway, but it didn't work out. They ended up winning that game anyway, and that's what of course would happen to us. But just as a reminder, even though you're not going to find any information about it apparently on MLB.com, or at least with any pictures, you can go to gophnx.com and there'll be pictures on our website. I promise you. Jesse has a piece coming up on our acquisition of our new reliever / closer that you can get over on gophnx.com. Sign up to become a member. You can get an annual membership, which will get you a free t-shirt over at the phnxlocker.com, or you can sign up for the month-to-month option and you'll get your first month for just 50 cents. Remember, it's a great holiday gift to yourself, to your loved one, for you guys to share, enjoy, become a member of the family. Join our members only Discord, get discounts on the merch all the time. There's always discounts. I'm not going to tell you about the Black Friday deal that already passed, because I already did that and Jesse scolded me for being mean about it. So.
You're literally doing it right now.
Yeah, I know. Oh, baseball does. Yeah, well, I mean, but if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, did it make a noise? I don't know. But I will say, I definitely appreciate you guys checking out the show, and definitely go over to gophnx.com and become a member today. Jesse, the other proposal that's part of this whole CBA lockout deal that we've talked about and we wanted to discuss here is the expanding the playoffs to 14 teams. Again, something that could impact the D-backs in the next coming years if they do decide to go this route. But it is a complicated route. It's not it's definitely not a straightforward situation as far as their idea goes. So let's talk about this, because it's a little weird.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Part of me would be concerned if the league went with this because I think playoffs would come and everyone would just be super confused and not understand what was happening. Because there's a lot of layers to this. But here's the proposal that was laid out. So it's 14 teams total. So
Correct.
7 National League, 7 American League. And currently it's 5-5. So we're changing that to 7-7, which basically just means they're adding 2 additional wild cards
Right.
for each league. And so you've got your,
but they
yeah, go
won't
ahead.
be 1-game wild cards. They'll be wild cards that they actually
Yeah.
participate in a 3-game series, right?
Right. So it's a 3-game series, and so you have your 3 division winners, and then you basically have one of the wild card teams that gets thrown in there as well, because the leading team in each league gets a bye for the first round.
Correct.
So there's a bye in the
So-
first round for each league, and then you've got 6 teams left over, and the home teams are the top wild card plus the other 2 division leaders. And then based on the order of record, Derek, they get to choose which of the wild card teams
Correct.
they want to play,
Correct.
which is a bizarre situation.
That's really where things went off the rails a bit when they started to say that the division winners that don't get the bye get to choose their wild card opponent, with the one with the better record of the 2 getting the first choice, and then the other one. So, like, for instance, in this season, so there'd be 4 wild cards total, and then the 3 division winners. So this year in the National League, it would have been the Giants and the Tampa Bay Rays with a first round bye. The Brewers would have been the first division winner with the wild card of their choosing with the first choice, and then the Braves would have taken their wild card of their choosing. The wild card field would have been the Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Reds, and the Phillies.
But the Dodgers would have also gotten to host a game.
Correct.
So they wouldn't have gotten to choose their opponent, though. They would have gotten whichever wild card team was left after the Brewers and the Braves made their selection.
No one was going to choose the Dodgers anyways, so the Dodgers weren't going to be picked by another team. Then in the American League, like I said, it's the Rays with the bye, Astros and the White Sox are your division winners, with the Astros getting the first choice as far as who they would want to pick. Then the wild card is pretty much the AL East, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays, with the Mariners being the 7th and final wild card spot, or 4th.
They're just the optics of a team choosing who they want to play in the playoffs. Part of me feels like they would just go with the team with the worst record and try not to put too much into it. But part of me is also like, well, I mean, if one team, if you've got 2 teams to choose from and they have practically the same record, but one of them has this super dominant ace and the other one doesn't, you might be willing to choose the team that has the better record overall, just because in a shorter term situation, you feel like you might have a better chance against them.
Let's take a look at this too, because I think this would apply. Like, let's say the Brewers matched up well against the Reds instead of the Phillies, which would be the final seed, right? So let's say the Brewers, with their choosing, go for the Reds. For any reason, right? Maybe they're, like you said, maybe they do have a dominant starting pitcher, but he's injured and he's not playing or something like that, right? For whatever variable that might come into play. And then maybe the Braves don't match up well. Maybe they've lost the season series to the Phillies, considering they're both in the NL East. So instead of going after them, they decide to play the Cardinals. These are all things that could happen. And if they do happen, I want it to happen with some pageantry. Like, I want, like, the manager to have
a televised event where this happens
with an envelope that he opens and announces on stage who they're going to play.
That would be amazing. I would.
In full uniform.
Can you imagine the ratings for that?
Oh my God!
People like they want more TV revenue, Derek. That event would sell on ESPN.
I mean, do it on the baseball field, on the pitching mound. Come out to like a microphone set up out there, and be like, the Milwaukee Brewers select the Cincinnati Reds, and then people lose their mind. Yeah, come on, I'm with it.
Oh
Baseball's
man.
boring. Let's make it more exciting. Whatever we can do. Confetti shoots out, banners drop with like the matchup, you know,
What
Brewers
are,
versus
why
Reds.
is there confetti? Like,
I
what
don't
are we
know,
celebrating?
because confetti makes everything better. Jesse, are you kidding me? Why is
Okay,
there
all right.
confetti?
We'll
Next, you're
launch
going to be asking why
fireworks
is
and
there
everything.
bunting and why is there all this other stuff around a ballpark? I don't know, because it would be great. Fireworks. Can we get fireworks at least? Would that be okay?
Sure,
Is
sure.
fireworks
We can do
better than
fireworks.
confetti?
Yeah.
You're right. Confetti celebratory. Fireworks at least are an announcement level.
Yeah, just a
Big
big
deal.
event.
All
Just a
right.
big event, right?
What are your thoughts on these playoffs? Do you hate it? Because I know you don't like the idea of more teams in the playoffs.
Well, so yeah, we've talked about this a little bit before. I don't like the idea of a 16 team expansion, which is another idea that's been floated around. This
Sure.
is what we saw last year with the pandemic. The league was able to convince the players to go to 16 teams in the playoffs. And I don't like that.
Sure.
I think it cheapens the playoffs just a little bit too much. I mean, it's like where do we set the bar? I mean, why not, if you're going to take 16, why not take 20 teams, right? Like I just think 16 teams is
Look at
more
you.
than 16 teams is more
Oh,
than
yeah.
half of the league.
We got everybody in here. Now everybody
Yeah.
comes in. What are we going to do? Final four. Let's add 64 teams. So we can have 64 teams in the playoffs.
I
will
just
say,
think if a team is like 77 and 85,
yeah.
like we don't need to see them in the playoffs,
Well,
right? It's just not a compelling product.
baseball's like a fickle sport too, right? So the thing about
Yeah.
that is that a team could catch fire at the end of the season, right? And they
Yeah, the
could still be
77 and 85 team could totally just blow out the 107 win team
right.
in one series.
Right. The one thing I like about this particular setup is, as weird as it is, I like that it's unconventional. I like that they're doing their
Yeah.
own thing instead of copying a typical bracketed system that other
It would
sports
be
do.
interesting. I mean,
Right.
it would be fascinating. Yeah.
And the other part that I really like about it is that the team with the most wins in both divisions gets a bye in this whole thing. And that's
Right.
the only team that gets out of it, right? So that awards a team for playing hard all 162 games and having the best record in their league, right? So I think, like you said, it's such a ridiculously long season that the reward used to be making the playoffs. The reward used to be that such a limited amount of teams went to the playoffs, that was what you played for during the season. That's why the season was so long, because it was kind of like a playoff. You know, it was, especially when there were less teams, because the teams were constantly playing teams first only in their league, only in the NL and the AL. They weren't doing this, cross contamination thing. And then they also, were mostly playing of the 162 games, like 100 plus of them against their division, right? So it was truly proving who the best team in their division was. Now with the scheduling and everything else, it's not so much. I mean, you do play your division opponents more than anybody else, but it's still not that same thing of being, constant competition against those teams in your league, in your division, and then playing eventually against another team in the American League or National League in the World Series. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I do like the fact that it rewards certain things. It's kind of weird to look at the way this would line up with the Dodgers being a wild card team, and again with almost the entire AL East making it in on the American League side, with the exception of the Orioles. So it's
I mean, you could have
an interesting setup.
You could feasibly have all 5 teams from one division, right? I mean, you could have division winner plus 4 wild cards coming from one division. Some crazy things
with how
could
much
happen.
they play each other. That's got to be impossible, though. There's always got to be one team like the Baltimore Orioles that were the whipping boy in the division.
Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. But I do think it's important to mention the CBA aspect of this. Like, what are the league, what do the players think of this? And this is totally a proposal by the league. They're the ones who are pushing for this.
Right.
They want the additional gate revenue. They want the additional TV revenue that comes with expanding the playoffs. And I think they're also, trying to back that up with a competitive balance element to this. Just that it gets more teams in there. And from a Diamondbacks perspective, that's a good thing. I mean, the Diamondbacks would benefit from this sort of setup. There would be seasons where they would make the playoffs under this setup that, under the current situation, they have not made the playoffs in. So there's a benefit there. From the players' side, they view this, Derek, as, we feel that teams might not be willing to push their chips in quite as much. If more teams make the playoffs, it kind of cheapens it a little bit. Maybe you're not going to go quite as hard at the trade deadline, trying to acquire guys. And I guess more so from the player's perspective in free agency, maybe you're not going to pay that extra few bucks to get, that extra reliever or whatever. If you feel that there's kind of a lot of teams that make the playoffs will probably make it, and at the end of the day, we're just hoping to catch fire at the right time anyway. So why would I bother to shell over the extra few $1,000,000 for whoever it is, right? So that's the concern from for this on the player side of things.
I think that, to be honest, there's a lot of overthinking of that when it comes to the players. And I mean, I guess there's probably data to back it up, right?
Yeah.
But really what it comes to for me is that they they need to make sure that they think about ways to keep these teams interested in having players on their team, with the way that teams all of a sudden start, it's not just the trading guys off, right? Because that's still the top percent. That's still the better guys. What about the number of guys that are like DFA'd or sent back down to the minors or whatever, when teams are, not really doing well or whatever, the amount of guys that are cut. I understand that there's still a lot of movement, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of fire sales, right? Where players on good teams or on bad teams get moved to good teams during this time. And with that hope, those players are going to be left on those bad teams because those teams might have a chance at making the playoffs. But it's good for competitive balance, really, at the end of the day. And that's what's good for baseball. Like, baseball needs all the help they can get. Our comments are basically filled with a bunch of people saying baseball doesn't exist and all sorts of other things. Four ball and the pitch and the four. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is how people feel. And I don't blame anybody for that. And see, this is why I've been talking about how important this lockout is, because they can do whatever they think they're doing for the purpose of, getting one side paid or whatever. They need to realize that a lot of people are losing interest in their game, and just keep that, at the front of their mind, especially with other options. There's other baseball options that we can watch now. You know what I mean? Like KBO, ESPN will pick up a contract with KBO and air it all the time.
That was a time.
Yeah, that was a time. And they'll bring it back too. They'll bring it back really fast if baseball doesn't start, and people will jump on with the NC Dinos, and we'll get the merch rolling here at Foot Lockers and whatnot. And, that'll be it. That will be what we watch now. We watch English Premier League. Like, why wouldn't we watch other overseas sports? We already know that MLS is great, but we know Premier League is way better. And a lot of people are fans of Premier League teams, right? We're not above watching sports overseas. And if baseball doesn't come back, or it takes an extended leave of absence and shortens its season this year, it's going to have a hard time winning people back, I think, because that's two work stoppages and two big disagreements that kept them from getting back on the field in 2 years, so good luck if they decide to make this take longer than our dates. I mean, your date, I hope your date is the date, because we need to get back to content. We're about to be snake drafting winter clothing here in a week or so. But just a reminder, you guys can go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use our code of PHNX, and you'll get that $100 in free bets for betting $1 or more on any team to score any points. And also go over to gophnx.com and become a member, either an annual member or become a month-to-month member. Annual member, you'll get that free t-shirt. Gift that t-shirt to one of your friends, your loved ones. They'll love it. They'll become a member. Maybe they'll gift their shirt back to you. It's all love. But hope you guys check that out. Also, if you're watching us right now on YouTube, please, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, please subscribe there, download, leave us a 5-star review. Again, I know I am not a 5-star man, but this guy over here is a 5-star man. So leave us a 5-star review. And if you're listening to us on your favorite audio podcasting app, jump over to YouTube, subscribe over there, and hit that notifications button so you don't miss out on any of the original content coming out from us here at PHNX and all the other sports. If you're an Arizona sports fan, it's just a nonstop buffet of sports goodness. But we thank you guys so much for joining us. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports. And that is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
All right, Derek, before we go real quick, you ready for this? This is the headline on MLB.com, or at least a list of them. So right now on MLB.com, there's like this great reads bar on the side of the webpage. And this is the incredible content that's available. All right, you ready for this? Baseball road trip locations in all 50 states. They had one career AB and one career hit. So like players who had one hit in their only at bat. The remarkable story of Robin Yount's brother. Let's see. We have the Ted Simmons, a Hall of Fame Renaissance man. Wrigley banned from the World Series, almost happened. These are the kinds of things that are on MLB.com right now.
They've been waiting for this day, haven't they, Jesse? They've been prepared.
They've been preparing for a long time.
It's like they lie to your face and they tell you, well, I think negotiations are going well, but then they're stockpiling articles like that. It's just like our pal Tori Lavallo being in France. He's like, yeah, I hope they get something done. I won't know, though, because I'm overseas in Europe enjoying my family and an absolutely great time, right? You knew this day was coming. We knew this day was coming. Hopefully, we also predict this date correctly so that we don't have too long of a delay without baseball. Maybe we brag too much about the baseball never stopping here in Arizona, Jesse. We might be at fault.
It's about to stop.
I blame myself for everything. I can't even go to sporting events anymore without feeling like I'm 100% the reason for the loss. But we hope you guys.
January 28th, Derek.
January 28th.
There you go.
I don't know. That's too optimistic, but we're cautiously optimistic over here. We thank you for checking out the show. On behalf of Jesse and myself, we appreciate you guys so much. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you play baseball.